Hello guys, welcome to our channel Y&R Daily Signal. This channel is specially created for all the young and the restless fans out there. Here you'll get daily updates, the latest spoilers, episode breakdowns, shocking twists, character analysis and exciting predictions about upcoming storylines. If you're a true Y&R fan, make sure to subscribe and stay connected with us for fast and reliable updates from Genoa City. So don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to Y&R Daily Signal, your daily source for everything the young and the restless. Genoa City woke beneath a pale winter sun, the kind that casts long shadows even in daylight. On the surface, everything moved as it always did. Coffee machines hissed at crimson lights, traffic rolled steadily past storefronts, and conversations filled familiar corners of town. But beneath that routine rhythm, something fragile was shifting. Invisible cracks were spreading through families already tested by betrayal, ambition, and unresolved pain. At Crimson Lights, Nick Newman wrapped both hands around her coffee cup as though it could anchor her. Across from her, Noah tried to reassure her that he wasn't planning to leave Genoa City anytime soon. After so much instability, the idea of having her grandson close felt like a rare comfort. Nikki smiled, but her thoughts were elsewhere. Nick, the word alone carried a weight that tightened her chest. For weeks, Nick had been struggling, physically injured, emotionally exhausted, caught in yet another storm involving Phyllis and the endless Newman power dynamics. Pain had etched itself into his expression, frustration had sharpened his tone. So when he suddenly walked into the cafe looking almost peaceful, it should have been a relief. Instead, it was unsettling. He wasn't using his cane. His steps were smooth, unguarded. His shoulders, usually tense, were loose. There was a softness to his smile that felt unfamiliar, almost artificial. He greeted everyone warmly, even joking lightly. When Phyllis's name came up, he surprised them most of all. Gone was the anger, gone was the bitterness over her deception and reckless choices. Instead, Nick defended her, he spoke of her strength, he praised her devotion to Summer. His forgiveness came too easily, as if the emotional scars of the past few weeks had simply dissolved overnight. Sharon watched him closely. She noticed the slight delay in his responses, the faint glaze in his eyes, the way his gaze drifted when conversations grew serious. When Nick mentioned that he'd found a leftover pain pill in his coat pocket and taken it earlier, Sharon's concern sharpened. It wasn't just a pill, it was something stronger, something heavier. When Nick casually suggested he might contact the pharmacy about another refill, Sharon immediately reminded him that he'd only recently filled his prescription. Nick brushed it off with calm logic, explaining that refills took time and he simply wanted to stay ahead of the process. His tone was smooth, too smooth. Noah noticed how Nick shifted his weight slightly, as if steadying himself. His father seemed relaxed, overly relaxed, almost detached from the moment. When Victor's unpredictable habits became part of the discussion, Nick's focus drifted entirely. He blinked slowly, staring off before responding, as though processing required extra effort. Sharon gently asked if he felt all right. Nick smiled faintly and insisted he'd never felt better. But better didn't look like this. After he left, silence settled between Sharon and Noah. It wasn't the comfortable kind. It was thick with shared worry. Noah finally voiced what neither wanted to admit. What if Nick wasn't taking the medication as prescribed? What if the relief he was chasing had already begun chasing him back? Sharon's stomach twisted. She had seen how quickly dependence could take hold. The thought of Nick slipping into something dangerous terrified her. Across town, Mariah Copeland moved through the park cafe like a ghost. Oversized sunglasses shielded her eyes even though the day wasn't bright enough to warrant them. Christine Blair sat across from her, offering steady reassurance. Legally, Mariah was allowed to be there. She had been evaluated. She was stable. She was free, at least until her trial. But freedom felt undeserved. Mariah felt the weight of judgment in every passing glance. She admitted to Christine that she and Sharon had visited the Chancellor mansion to apologize. Christine stiffened immediately. With the trial approaching, emotional visits could complicate everything. Defense strategies required caution, not spontaneous guilt-driven gestures. But guilt had been impossible to ignore. Dominic's innocent face haunted her. The confusion she had created, the lines she had blurred. When Abby appeared in the park with Dominic, the air shifted instantly. Dominic ran toward Mariah without hesitation, smiling brightly, calling her his hide-and-seek friend. His apology for falling asleep during their game was pure and sincere. Maria's throat tightened. She knelt down, telling him softly that she was the one who owed an apology for keeping him from his parents, for confusing him, for letting her own fragile mental state distort what should have been safe boundaries. Abby watched closely, protective, guarded. Later, Abby confronted Christine privately, her frustration breaking through any attempt at composure. Why was Mariah walking around freely? Why wasn't she somewhere secure? Abby's fear wasn't theoretical. It was maternal instinct sharpened by trauma. Christine calmly reiterated the legal reality. Mariah had been evaluated and cleared. The court would decide her fate soon, but Abby's trust in process was thin. To her, Dominic's safety demanded more certainty than patience could provide. Mariah overheard fragments of their exchange. Each word deepened her shame. The doubt she already carried grew heavier, pressing down on her sense of worth. At society, Devon sat across from Nate, wrestling with conflicting emotions. He described how Mariah had emotionally entangled Dominic during their trip, subtle manipulation layered beneath games and storytelling. It hadn't been violent, it hadn't been physical, but it had been wrong. Devon struggled with the question of punishment. Accountability mattered. But so did understanding the mental health issues at play. He didn't want vengeance, he wanted assurance that nothing like this could happen again. Their concern shifted to Lily. Her silence was troubling. Calls unanswered, messages ignored. Even work matters left hanging. Given Victor's involvement with Chancellor and his habit of making moves without warning, Lily's absence felt connected to something larger. Devon sensed that Victor was moving pieces on a board only he could see. Back at the Newman ranch, Victor's disappearance created an entirely different kind of anxiety. Adam paced the room, replaying recent conversations. Victor never acted without purpose. If he had vanished without informing anyone, something significant was unfolding. Victoria, composed but calculating, believed she knew exactly what it was. She suspected Victor had tracked down Phyllis and gone after her personally. It fit his style. Direct action, minimal explanation. Adam, however, couldn't shake his concern about the promise Victor had made to Lily. Deals with Victor always carried hidden clauses. Chelsea suggested Chancellor Industries might be the central focus. Adam agreed it was logical, but Victor rarely limited himself to logic. Sometimes the real objective lay several moves ahead. Adam feared being blindsided. Again, Victoria later revealed her own strategy to Nikki. She intended to travel to Europe to see Summer. Phyllis's greatest strength and vulnerability was her bond with her daughter. Victoria didn't need to destroy that bond. She only needed to introduce doubt. If Summer began questioning her mother's judgment, even slightly, it could shift the balance. Nikki warned her that such manipulation could backfire. Family bonds were not easily fractured, but Victoria was confident. She understood leverage, and she believed emotional leverage was the most powerful kind. As night fell over Genoa City, each household carried its own storm. Nick sat alone staring at his prescription bottle. The earlier calm had faded, replaced by a subtle restlessness crawling beneath his skin. The medication offered relief, but also escape, and escape was dangerously appealing. Mariah lay awake, replaying Dominic's voice in her mind. Devon stared at his phone, debating whether to keep trying Lily. Adam remained tense, waiting for Victor's inevitable next move. Victoria reviewed travel plans with strategic precision. And somewhere beyond their knowledge, Victor Newman was executing a plan that would soon ripple through every one of their lives. The quiet morning had been an illusion. Beneath it, pressure had been building steadily. In Genoa City, peace was temporary, power was shifting, trust was thinning, and the consequences of hidden choices were drawing closer by the hour.